Hi, this is my fourth demonstration in my beginner pastel technique video series. In previous videos we've drawn a pair of trainers, created 3 apples, and in my last image I painted a cupcake using pan pastel. In this video I am going to use a pen and ink technique to draw a picture of a house, and then use pastel to colour that image in and bring life and vibrancy to the image. The image itself will be a vignette, and so you won't see the edges, and we'll try to fade them out into the pastel paper. I'm not using any guidelines as I draw this. I'm just going to use a ink and a piece of apple tree that I cut and sharpened to a point to create the image. So let's get on and draw the image. So we've got our ink drawing, and now I'm going to start painting in some of the sky colour using a white pastel. Going over the ink drawing, leaving some of it showing through, going up to the edge of other bits and pieces, thinking about how lights and darks are going to come into play during this pastel painting. I'm using my SAA pastels for this particular image. Going straight onto the board. Having established some quite light colour for the sky, I'm now going to go in with a blue over the top of the white, just to add to the colour. Again, making sure I make note of where the lights and darks are going to be in this image, and putting some of the lighter pastel to the front. As this is a vignette, I'm going to just gently leave the colour out towards the edges so that you can see the pastel paper coming through. Moving on to the bushes in the front of the house now, I'm just going to use a light green pastel to fill them in, adding some over to the dark black ink just to help bring out some of that detail, and also putting the grass in the foreground of the picture. This is really quite a nice technique to be able to use, and you can rub back your pastel to find the lines. You can add more ink lines if you so wish. Always try your pastel out on the paper. If it's not the right one, try and find something darker, in this case for the house. I originally thought I was just going to put the dark in under the eaves, but then ended up putting it all over the house anyway, and then doing the darks as in the final stages of the painting. Again, I'm just blocking in, same as all my other videos, just blocking in the colour on this image. Not really attempting to follow the lines, if I'm honest, and if I go over, I'm not too fussed about it. Working my way around the edge of the garage now. There's a nice car in the driveway of this garage, in this house, and I wanted to put that in with a nice white roof, so we'll see how that goes later in the painting. Finding colours is always a bit tricky, I find, for pastels. You have to get the correct one. So I was going to do the roof in a dark blue, but then decided to go for a grey. It seemed to fit with the rest of the colours on the page. Gently pulling that colour just into the paper, all very light at this section, very light touches, not trying to force the pastel onto the paper, just trying to make a nice clean image and get some straight lines where I need them. This is one of my favourite bits, adding the whites around windows. I love doing this. It really suddenly, the picture seems to come alive as soon as you put the white on around the edges, adding it to the pointy bit of the roof, whatever that's called. I think it's called the pitch. So adding it there, around the door frame, around the downstairs window. It's a lovely job. I love putting the white in on a picture. Adding a really spicy colour for the door, something to grab the viewer's interest, and doing that reflected onto the garage door as well. As you can see, the colour doesn't match up to my reference image, but I'm not too worried about that. This is my picture, my painting, so I'm going to use the colours that I want to use. And all the time I'm just trying to think about lights against dark, darks against light as I'm painting this image. Adding some details to the door, and also using the same colour across the house to help unify the picture. Adding the black to the car now, and moving on to the tree, going back into the ink work with the pastel to help bring out some of those branches and trunk structure. It's quite difficult to get fine lines with a pastel, which is why I like to use the ink to start off with. Adding in some leaves now onto the tree, and just quick downward strokes in areas where I think that the tree needs some leaves. Making sure that butts up to the house, and also using the colour in other places around the painting, again to help unify the picture. So there you have it, my pastel and ink painting of a house. I've tried to keep this as loose as I can with the pastel work, makes it more like my watercolour work. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and if so, please go back and watch some of my other beginner pastel technique videos.